In this video, we'll talk about the first steps to planning a program, and part of that includes writing goals and objectives. So this first question is thinking about why are programs developed? In your book, there's a nice table that talks about rationale for why you might develop a program. So in the last section, we talked about conducting a community needs assessment, and that the results of that might lead you to want to develop a new program or to modify an existing program. There's possibilities that you're working for an organization where they're asking you to implement something new, and so you're going to have to, you might have to develop that program if that's being mandated for you to implement. Maybe you've done research and you've seen, had some findings from research, or maybe somebody else did some research and they found a successful program worked in a certain community setting, and now you want to implement that in your particular community that you're working with. Maybe there's a community leader or coalition who are interested in implementing a new program, and they collaborate with you or partner with you in order to implement that. There might be funding that's coming through your agency for developing a new program, and so you write a program proposal to be able to see if you can use that funding for a new program idea that you have. Or maybe there's been some change in government policy and now you're going to implement a different program. So for instance, with the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, there were changes in policy related to school meals. So in that sense, something new had to be rolled out. So you always need to recognize that to develop a program, there needs to be some kind of a need in the community that you're working with that really hasn't been addressed to that point adequately. And so you might develop a brand new program, or like I mentioned earlier, revise an existing program. So this is your book, and they've outlined different steps of program planning. So we're going to follow this through. So the first step is thinking about reviewing the results of a community needs assessment. So in this particular section of program planning, we're going to use this case study that is a real one from Utah County WIC, and one that I was involved with. So that what you'll see in this is that there was a needs assessment done looking at education of those who are in WIC program, and essentially finding that the on-site education was challenging for individuals to be able to attend, and that there was a lot of interest in doing some kind of online education to be able to overcome some of those barriers. So as a result of this needs assessment, the WIC office, we collaborated with the WIC office to create some online nutrition education classes. So in the next step of program planning, you need to define what you're going to try to accomplish through program goals and objectives. So one of the key ideas about goals and objectives is that they really are the basis for determining whether or not your program is effective. So you want to write these in a way that allows you to be able to measure whether or not what you want to implement is effective. As a reminder, goals are broad statements, and in this case, with program planning, the broad statements related to desired changes or outcomes among the target population. So we talked about needs assessment. Needs assessment was about gathering information. Now program planning is about changing behavior or attitudes. So we want to have a goal that's really focused on a statement that talks about a change or an outcome that you want to see among your target population. The objectives still need to be written in a SMART format. And this is a reminder here of the components of SMART objectives from your book, so that they need to be specific, measurable, they need to be achievable, relevant, and they need to include a time frame. With program planning, there are different groups of objectives. So you have outcome objectives and process objectives. So definition is on the screen for each. So outcomes, you really want to think about what are you hoping the target population will do or believe, or how their attitude is, or what their belief might be as a result of your program. Process objective is about you as the program team. What are the activities that you need to do in order to help the target population meet the outcome objectives and to reach your goal? From your book, this is an example of an outcome objective. What they've done is they've taken the SMART framework and put information in for each one of these different parameters. So you can read through that on your own, but in the end, the full objective includes all the elements of a SMART objective. So by July 2016, increase the proportion of adolescents in my home state consuming a minimum of 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day from 20% of students to 30% of students. So this you can see, this is really focused on changing adolescents' behavior. And so whatever program they implement, it's going to have to help students to want to increase fruits and vegetables. You can see here's the goal up above. They want to have healthy nutrition productivity environments in schools in order to increase those who are at a healthy weight. So you know that the intervention or the program they're developing is going to have some components with productivity and nutrition, and that their hope is that through whatever they develop that they're going to see this change. In your book, A Process Objective, they gave an example of each community nutritionist will conduct 2 nutrition lectures per week over the course of a 3-month program. And you can think about whether or not this is a SMART objective, and really it is. We've got specific of what who's going to be doing the work, what they're going to be doing, how many they're going to do, which is 2, so that's measurable, and the time frame, thinking about a 3-month program. So now what I want you to do is in your course packet, C-3.0, there are some practice problems for writing objectives. What you're going to do is you're going to look through the list. I'll show you quickly. You're going to look through these lists of objectives that I have, so 9, and I want you to determine whether or not the objective is written correctly, and if not, how would you need to rewrite it to have it written correctly? And then would you label it as an outcome objective or a process objective? So I'll give you 4 minutes to look through those. Okay, so let's take a minute to look through these from the activity. So the first one, we've got a time frame and we've got the population. It looks specific enough. You may not know whether or not it's relevant given we don't know the program, but we can argue that maybe it's relevant. But what it isn't is it's not measurable. And so that is one, assigning some kind of numerical measurement here would help to make this a SMART objective. And this is an outcome objective because we're talking about the target population and what they're going to do. The second one, we've got a time frame. We have what's going to be created and the specifics of what's created. What's not included is it's not measurable, and it could also benefit from putting in who's going to be developing the lesson plans. This one is considered a process objective because developing a lesson plan is going to be the program team. Number 3, this one it's measurable. We've got the specific population and what they'll be able to identify. But what we don't have is we don't have a time frame. That one's missing a time frame. And this one would be considered an outcome objective because, again, it's what the target population is anticipated to be able to do as a result of the program. Number 4, here we've got a time frame, we've got some kind of numerical measurement, we've got the target audience and what they'll be able to do. So this one actually looks like it's written pretty well, just as is. So I wouldn't make any change to this one, and this would be considered an outcome objective. Number 5, time frame. We've got the number of cooking classes that's being developed and who's going to be developing them. You might argue maybe it's not specific enough, but overall I think this one's pretty good, pretty well written, and this would be a process objective. Number 6, we've got a time frame. We have a numeric. We've got what is expected to be done, but we don't really have who is going to be doing it. We don't have our target audience. So that one would be important to include that target audience or population, and this would be an outcome objective. Number 7, then 6 months. So here we've got a time frame, we've got the target audience. It's not very specific. Change their behavior. What do you mean by behavior? And it's definitely not measurable. And this would be an outcome objective. Number 8, we've got time frame, we've got measurability, the individuals that we're talking about, our target population, what we want them to do. This one I think is written okay, and this would be an outcome objective. Number 9, we've got who is going to be doing the action, how many flyers will be posted, where they're going to be posted, and a time frame. Now you might argue maybe it could be a little more specific, but overall I think number 9 is well written and would be a process objective. Hopefully that helps you distinguish between process and outcome objectives, and also gives you some practice in thinking about how to make sure that objectives are written in a SMART format. If you have more questions, definitely let me know. So here we go. Here's our WIC case study that I mentioned earlier. And now what we're going to do together is think through what a goal might be, what an outcome objective or objectives might be, and a process objective or objectives. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to read through the scenario, and then I'll give you another 2 minutes to kind of think through what might be a goal and outcome process objective you would write based on the information that's given in this case study. So here's your first 2 minutes to read through the case study. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you another 2 minutes. And now what I want you to do is now you've read through the case study, I want you to think about what might be potential goal, outcome objective, and process objective you would write for this particular project. Okay, so I'll try to start this timer again. Okay, there we go. Okay, great. So hopefully you have thought of some ideas for this case study. The goals and objectives that I wrote for the Utah County WIC case study. So the goal is to determine the impact of an online nutrition education program in educating WIC clients about nutrition-related women, infant, and health issues, and the program's effectiveness in replacing traditional on-site nutrition education sessions. So my goal was pretty lengthy, but encompassed the whole intent of the program, what we thought it would, what we wanted it to be able to affect. So the outcome objectives, there were two. The first one was women enrolled in WIC will demonstrate a 0.5 point increase based on Likert scale in knowledge and behavioral intentions related to each online nutrition or health-related course taken based on surveys before and immediately following the class. So for this was, I considered this my time frame, but I could see that you could even make it maybe more specific by saying, by a certain year or month and year you want this to happen, like I did in outcome objective 2. So by 2009, at least 70% of women will report a perceived benefit of taking online classes. So those are my outcome objectives. For each outcome objective, I need to have the process objective, so what the program team is going to do in order to see whether or not we have accomplished these outcome objectives. So for the first one, this is related to creating the actual education sessions and giving the time frame. The second one is individuals need to be hired to develop different components of the project, so a database to house the courses, and then a graphic designer to help with the design of it. And then the last process objective related to the first outcome objective is that we needed to create pre and post surveys for each online class, so at least 10 classes in 6 months. So the process objective that's related to the second outcome objective is that program developers will create and implement an online survey among a 20% random sample of WIC clients after launching the online classes to assess effectiveness implementation and teaching material, changing behavior, technical aspects of accessing online education. So again, this is how we would be able, this is what we have to do as a program team in order to assess whether or not this outcome actually was accomplished as a result of the program. So now you're going to practice this writing goals and objectives on your own. So there's a case study. In your packet, course packet, C-3.1 is Women in Jeffress City and Coronary Heart Disease Risk. Your task is to read the case scenario either on your own or with your team. And on your own or with your team, write a goal, an outcome objective or objectives, and a process objective or objectives, and then to post your response on the Learning Suite digital dialogue. If you have any questions, just let me know.